Yeah, one thing is clear. This is not going to be a normal, class or workshop, as you guys, might have seen in Masai or any other YouTube tutorial. You will be bombarded with a lot of technical terms. Now, see, I want to make things simple, but I don't want to make them very simpler. Like if I don't talk about compiler and talk about compiler in a different way, you will understand what that thing is doing. But if you don't know like this small technical terms, if you want to contribute to any library, you want to build your own stuff, those technical terms, those definitions are kind of important. So even though I hate it, so some of these things, we will go through it. All right. And other than that, like you don't need to know anything. If you just are aware about basic JavaScript, and as I said, 1 + 1 is equal to 2, I'm completely fine with that. Uh, all the things like मुझ पे छोड़ दो, how you are going to understand it and all the practical implementation and all that. All right, so let's start building a program language, and I will actually start with the first question to you guys. So take a pause, think about it, and the question is programming language a syntax? The reason for this question is many junior developers usually, or when we started learning, what we used to do, okay, Java syntax is very hard, C++ syntax is very hard, or Python syntax is very similar. So it's a very natural inclination of us to understand that programming language is equal to syntax. So it's okay, you don't answer it right now. Just think in your mind, what is your go-to answer to this question is. Is it yes or no? As we move forward, we'll understand what exactly that thing is. But when you have to answer this kind of complex thing, usually take a step back. Like usually what happens is our confidence is low, motivation is low, learning is low. And with those tool set, we try to attack a bigger problem. And that's when, things started falling apart. So we are going to take a step back. And if I want to rephrase this question, it will be like, is your language just words? What do I mean by that? My native language is Marathi. Someone's might be Hindi, Telugu, whatever it is. The question is your language just words? So, this English language that I'm speaking, is it just word, or there is something bigger thing that is happening? And that bigger thing that is happening doesn't come to us very naturally. Oh, mind mein hota, whatever those calculations are happening. And that is the gray area which we need to focus on in this next 4 days. That's where you are going to become a better developer. That's where you are going to learn about all these technical terms and how you can incorporate that in your um, daily development, to basically make sure yourself as a better developer. Uh, and I'm going to take one more step back. We are actually going to some basic history lessons. So if you're talking about language, these are like nowadays language, English, okay, Hindi, Marathi, all this. But if you go way back, actually, I'm a big history fan. So I'm showing you one representation of how different languages were representing a particular entity, a particular matter, a particular physical object, whatever it is. Like imagine you have to explain a mountain to every single person. Like how would you do that? Maybe like as I imagine, Koru, you are like maybe 3,000, 5,000 years back and you have to explain mountain. So two, three friends are sitting there and then I don't know in what language they're telling, like I'm walking, then you have to walk upside and all these things. So that's where I went. That friend is trying to convey the people. And then you suddenly realize like why you have to explain all these things. Just compress all this information into one word, one image, or in programming language that we will call it as a token, but that part will come later. Right now, let's just focus about compressing some information into an image or a word. So in these people, so as you can see, the Sumerian, Egyptian, Chinese, Indus Valley civilization, this is how they basically used to represent mountain. Just an image and clearly, boom, you have an idea कि भाई ये बंदा गया कहाँ था. You don't have to keep on asking him, what that exact thing is. You have this, and they have this for every single thing, like for sun, for rivers, like all the uh, daily things that they used to interact back then. They have all these things. In our case, it's not the images now, it is the words. So you can see, how the transition has been happening. We'll talk about all those things, but this is the basic start of how language is basically just a way of compressing information in a particular symbol. Now, coming to the next part, what we are going to do, we are going to do a very short experiment throughout this whole 4-day workshop. And that is, we are going to first create our own short human language. Now, when I was designing it, I felt very cringy, little bit weird. But then I realized at the end of the day, it's very important for you guys to understand how languages actually work, not just programming language, just the whole spectrum of it. And I realized ki why only create program language? Let's just create a human language. So we start actually from the step zero and not from the step one and so on and so forward. So what I want you guys is because what kind of communication will happen between us is either I will ask you yes or no kind of question. So either you will answer in yes or no. And I'm just going to give you substitute words for that. Like don't say yes, instead say this word. Don't say no, say this word. In any other case, like I have to say let's move on from this topic. Then I would not say let's move on. I will use this new language. I gave it a very weird name. Just have a look at it. So this is, I kind of, went some African vibes here, some Brazilian vibes. So this is the Manga language that we are going to use. And all I want you to do, I'm just giving you this 1, 2, 3, 4, how many? 6 symbols, 6 words, not images, but in current context, the 6. Just do one thing, maybe take a screenshot of this, take a photo of this on the camera, because if I'm going to ask a question, I'm not expecting answer in yes or no. I'm expecting answer in EO, Hapana. In case if you're having any error, I don't want you saying error in the chat box. I want you typing Makosa. Now, I understand this is, adding some little bit cognitive load on you, but that cognitive load is going to help us understand. Sorry, sir. It will help us understand how we, like even who are going to the computer, because at the end of the computer, banaya kisne? We have created it, right? So first we need to understand how we process language, and then only processing a programming language will become a very easy task. Okay, so this is like one short prerequisite that I will need from you guys. I hope you have um, captured this thing. Can I get a quick yes or no, or in this case, EO or Hapana? Just let's do this exercise for a while. And you have to do it only for today, okay? Like you don't have to memorize it for next session as well. Just do it for today. That's all. That's all that matters. Okay. Now one thing that I realize is, by the way, any Ulizo so far? Any Ulizo?
Apana.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. So see how that, if you could see quickly, ki thoda, you have to work on it a little bit. Anyways, so let's end here. That basically means let's move on. And our goal was to basically this, how mind reacts to a new language. Now, what will happen is next time I'm going to ask you see, I forgot what the, next time I'm going to ask you, where's more? Next time I'm going to ask you a Ulizo, and you have to answer that, and probably you will say understood, yes, no. It will take some time for you to process. Oh, no, there is a different mapping in your mind now. That is the only reaction I want. I don't want you to be successful at it. I don't want, actually, it's better that you don't use this word, you fail, and you realize, oh, I was supposed to use the Mongwa language, at least for today. And we'll see, at the end, how that cognitive thing will help us in understand creating the language. All right, so we already said Endelia. Now, talking more about how mind reacts to a new language, like as Rajat said, Amol said, Vatsal, Rohan, and Swati said, like Hapana and EO. First, they had to understand this dictionary. It's a dictionary, that we had. If you don't have the dictionary, forget about it. By the way, when did you had this dictionary in your life? Did you actually went through it? Yeah, like word means akshar or whatever it is. No one installed it later on. It happened, in your childhood automatically. That was the installation process, basically. That's the dictionary that you have. You can't see it. You can't maybe figure out all the words that you have, but it just, sits there in the memory. And whenever someone communicates with that, it matches that pattern. Oh, this guy is asking me my name. What is my name? Basically means, asking my name. And then you basically respond to it. So, mota moti, this is how the whole um, process is working. First, you get the word. Word can be anything. It can be Hapana, it can be EO, it can be programming, it can be, road trip, whatever it can be. So first you get the word and then you analyze the word. So in your mind, you go on. All of these things are very subconscious. That is the problem actually. If you knew how those things are actually working, I didn't have to come here and teach you programming language other than the coding part. Okay. So you analyze it. Based on analyze, you get the meaning. Oh, this guy is asking me for my name. And that understanding part, like it's part of meaning plus understanding is the same thing. I should have not added understanding there, but it's fine. And then finally, at the end of the day, any guesses? Yes, you finally response with something. Why I'm telling this? Because programming language is almost similar to this thing. First, you get the word, you analyze, you find a meaning out of it, and you get the response. Do one thing, people. Now we are learning language. In case there is a toddler, एक छोटा बच्चा अगर है तुम्हारे family में or in your neighbor or wherever, just try talking gibberish to them. Just like say anything, like say variable name is equal to Pablo. Just say anything and see how they react. That reaction is basically saying that I don't have that word in my dictionary. There is no pattern matching happening there. In case you talk to a bacha who is a developer, he has the pattern, but that bacha has not learned that where name is equal to Pablo actually means that it is a variable. So that meaning part will not happen. But then you find a bacha who is developer and who actually understand all those variables. And when you say where name is equal to Pablo, that toddler, that bacha will understand, oh, it's just, naming a variable, and he'll just basically, what will be the response? He'll laugh at you like, what this crazy guy is doing. But yeah, that's how you can go outside and start learning about it. Yes. So building a programming language is designing all of this. You just have to design it for a computer. तुम्हारा design already हो चुका है. You've already been designed in that way. Now, as a developer, if you understand this step 0, we are going to do it for a computer. So you are basically going to become a parent, in a sense of a computer. So if I have to map it down, this thing to the computer, word will become a syntax and a response will become an output. That's all. Analyze part will not change. Meaning part will not change. Computer need to analyze it. Computer need to find the meaning out of it, and then it can only give you output. That's all going to happen. At the end of the day, that is just same principle. थोड़ा 19-20 होता है इधर उधर, but that's what the stuff is. So I forgot. We'll go back to one. So is this Kuleva so far? I wait. And then until I don't see all the cognitive load being answered in the chat box. Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, just a final question. Uliso, is programming language a syntax? What do you think now? Yes or no? I mean, in Mongo. What do you think? Is programming language or syntax? I need to do better pattern matching. Okay. So actually, everyone is giving answer as EO. The actual answer is Hapana. Can you tell me why? It's fine, guys. If you want to comment it on this, that's completely fine. Like, imagine this is a podcast that is happening. I don't want to be the only one, just talking about it. In case you just want to open up the mic and go, you are very welcome. Okay, so my expectation for this question was everyone will answer Hapana, but everyone answered EO. That basically means there is some gap, there is some knowledge gap that we need to quickly go back and fix. So is program language a syntax? Kind of. I mean, it's not even yes or no actually, because it's more than that. And that's what I wanted to do in this slide. That it's just not syntax, it is this analyzing part, and that is the meaning part. And this two boxes that you see here, this is where your whole compiler, interpreter, memory designing data types, all of those things will happen in those two phases. So someone asks you, is it syntax? Kind of, yes, but that is only a part of it. There are, multiple things. So syntax is just the highlight that we see. And now we'll actually go back to go further, Endelia, to the programming language. We talked about human language and all this stuff. Now let's talk about programming language. And again, we'll go to the first principle. So when I was, preparing this curriculum people, I wanted to understand what is this meaning of this word called as program. What I realized is program is a word coming from a Greek word called as programma. So back in the days, like king, queens, wala jab era hota tha, so they used to put up this huge public notice like war is going to happen, or you need to pay this much taxes, or water will be available. I don't know what not. So that was used to be a public notice, and it very intrigued me. Oh, that's interesting. A public notice, because today's program that we see, it comes from that part. So how it makes sense here? The way it makes sense here is you are a developer. Okay. Now all of you have written a code. Okay. So what is the code? Code is basically set of instruction. Like name of this variable is Pablo Pandey. Turn that Pablo Pandey into uppercase, maybe split into two words. So Pablo and Pandey will become a part of array, and then return me that array. What you basically did is you basically give it a set of instruction. Or if you go back to that program or a part, you gave a public notice. You gave a notice. Then let's not use the word public, but you gave a notice to the computer, brother, I want these things to happen. Do it for me. So as a dev, you gave a programmer. Whom did you give it to? Sorry. Then that programmer needs to be computer needs to understand this meaning, like what exactly that means. As we talked previously, like uppercase karna kya hota hai, returning what does that mean, storing something in the memory, all of those things are part of the meaning, and then finally you get the response. So this meaning thing that you say, I'm going to use this word a lot, should have added that in the Mongo language itself. But the reason is, if you are going to be a language engineer, you have to be a meaning engineer. Like you have to provide meaning to someone like that, in that sense. So not just language engineer. Can someone also tell me, if you want to, uh, developing a programming language is like developing a meaning for a computer. Is there anything else in our developer ecosystem कि नहीं इसका भी meaning बताना जरूरी है, otherwise the code will not work? Like just look at the daily code that you guys do. Or in real life talk, or do you think guys, do you think Pandit is a meaning engineer? Like with the Shadi mein Sanskrit words that you guys tell. Do you think he's a meaning engineer? What does Aparan wish? I don't have the screenshot. Pandit pata hai na, Shadi wala Pandit. And that's the one example I quickly came up with. The reason I'm asking is, yeah, he just says words, but whom he's saying those words to? Imagine there is a God, okay? Like he's saying all these things to a God. Then is he a meaning engineer or not? Like there is actually a God, or ऐसा कान करके बैठा है वहाँ पे, and he's like listening all this mantras and all that. Then in that case, you might say, yes, he's a meaning engineer. He's translating all this meaning to the God, something like that. But the do you think frameworks are framework developers, framework engineers? Do you think they are meaning engineers? But the meaning engineer is my made up word. Okay, you will not go find it somewhere else. Just for you guys. Do you think framework engineers, the people who developed React, the people who developed Vue.js, this Bun.js, new thing, no, there's no. Take your time, think about it. Absolutely correct. So, because React, कहाँ से हो रहा है? Like, who created React? Particular people created. They thought, okay, this is the cool code to write. And if you write this code, your application will look fantastic. But your computer was going to do it automatically, right? You have to tell it, okay, bhai, if someone is writing JSX, someone is writing use effect, this is how you need to act. So basically, you are providing meaning to that file. So that's what I mean by, meaning engineer. And to become a meaning engineer, people, you need to go through this very technically tedious process, but it's a very fun one. And that is language processor. I don't know if you have heard about language processor or not, but if I have to give you guys a shot, can you name any one language processor? I just want to see like what is your natural answer to this question is like what do you understand about language processor? Like you can type anything, abracadabra, Pablo Mode, whatever, just give me something to work with so that I can flex this. By the way, language processor means meaning programs. So that is your hint there. Okay, very good. Amol, Babel. Cool, that's a cool answer. I like it. Now you have a head now. You have a starting point. Babel processes language. Babel processes text. There is one huge language processor that is happening nowadays in the world. Everyone is using it. Everyone is hyping it up. What is that? It's a very huge language processor. They take your perfectly incorrectly typed grammar and still give you the answer. Even if you type only 2-3 words, they will give you a complete uh, description. Exactly. Chat GPT. So, by the way, Chat GPT is the application. Yes, Google search as well. So now you are getting it, people. What do I mean by language processor? What do I mean by meaning programs? So everyone, I want some different answers from everyone. When we then talk about different Chat GPTs, there is one recently launched. Anyone following up the news? Gemini, correct. Llama. So basically, it's a like large language models. Like that's the underlying. I know you guys must be aware about it. Cool. Now, before you have it, I can actually show you. I just have to click one button to show you what language processor mean in context of building a programming language. But imagine you have created a new language, completely new language, and you have to process that language. What is the program? What is the algorithm? What is the tool you need to build to actually, bring some sense out of it? As I mentioned, yeah, ChatGPT. Yes, there you go, Vikram. Very good. Now, Vikram and Vatsal has said compiler. Can you guys name any other tools? Again, I'm not expecting all this answer to be correct because this is a very deep dive. Probably you might not have read. I also did not read in the beginning of my career so much about this. All right. Yeah. So there you go, compiler. If I talk about, there it is, the first one, first answer, compiler. Forget about what is this gibberish is. Source to machine code to execution. If you understand, I salute you. Very good. If you know, completely fine. We have 3 more days. So, and the second thing is, anyone after compiler, any guesses? Any guesses at all? So, compiler is something used by very low level language, C, C++. Now, the next answer is for JavaScript. So, for JavaScript, which language processor is used? By the way, you can completely cheat. In my workshop, you can cheat as much as you want. You can go to ChatGPT, you can text your friend on the chat box. Yes, weird engine. But then weird engine, कौन से category में आता है? Yes, all this thing. That is correct answer. But as Vikram said, weird engine is one, Chakra is another, Spider Monkey is another. But all of those, उनका एक नाम है. Like that. Okay, JS engine, yes, that is the name. But again, JS engine के ऊपर भी उसका एक नाम है. By the way, at the end उसको भी ER है. Node.js runtime, okay? We're close. Runtime environment, no, go one more step up. As I said, people, you can cheat. Yes, correct. So that is the interpreter. So source to bytecode to execution. Again, forget about what that thing is on the right hand side. But yes, JavaScript is an interpreted language. What that actually means, will go. And just there is just one final one, people. What is that? It starts with T. It is used in TypeScript. By the, if you know, TypeScript is basically JavaScript with more types, like you can actually mention कि string है, array है, object है, all those things. उसके end में भी you will get ER. Correct. Vikram is killing it, as I expected. So yeah, that is transpiler, source to execution. So basically TypeScript to JavaScript, and JavaScript will be executed. Any, again, as I said, people, you can make it podcast at any time. Any release so far? We will basically explain all of these three things right away. But if there is no release, we can entail here. Okay. By the way, so this is like one segment so far of the workshop. Can I just quickly get a summary of what you understand, maybe in one line? So now you guys are my meaning programs. What's the difference between machine code and bytecode? Yeah, I will get to that. So, as I said, right hand side, we'll go in the detail. So far, I just wanted to know these three things. जैसे school में theory पढ़ते थे ना, so like that, compiler, interpreter, transformer. That's all. Okay. So one more activity, people. This is one segment. What is your summary of this workshop so far? So imagine you are ChatGPT. I'm feeding all of these 6 or 7 slides to you. What your voice that came out from my mouth, I'm feeding that to you as well. Now you have to generate summary for me. It's 10:29 right now. I will wait for 2-3 minutes. Aram say, maybe you want to add bullet list, whatever, maybe just add one word, but I want answers from everyone. Let's go. Your summary of so far. I think Tejaswini joined little late, so Tejaswini will get a discount, no problem. But other folks, let's go. Aram se. Okay, I got Swati and Vikram's. See, I really liked how Vikram has actually answered the way I wanted from a chat GPT. It's cool. I'll show you guys all the answers. But remember, this is for you to understand. This is not a like कोई exam नहीं चल रही है यहाँ पे. Like I'll ask you, like give me an answer and you'll be selected for like 50 LPA job. Do it bad, but make sure that you understand it. That is the goal. So other folks, Narendra, Rajat, Rohan, Vatsal. By the Swati, you can do little better. Come on, you're a teacher. Do you think that's how you will explain it to your students? Imagine your students are um, 5-year-old kids. How will you explain this thing to them? Come on, people, last 1 minute. Then we will end it. Yeah. I'll just stop screen share just for a moment. भाई नाश्ता करके नहीं आएगा तुम लोग? Rajat, Vatsal, if this was an online workshop, sorry, offline workshop, I would have fed you guys. Really, I'm not kidding. Okay, you're in office. Thank you for better context. Okay, cool. We'll move on. But I just want to shout out. Someone says trying to understand in depth of language what happens when we write a code. Correct. Very good. Programming language is not a syntax by what some build a processor. Execution matters. Okay. So just keep these things in your mind. Whatever you have said. If there is any gap, knowledge gap, we need to go back and fix. But just a quick shout out to Vikram. So this is the answer he sent me. So I hope you guys can see it. This is the only place I can show it to you. So what you're seeing here is, so basically you get a programming language, you pass some user syntax to it, then that thing is basically moved on to the language processor. Basically, it can be compiler, interpreter, or transpiler based on what language you are going to build. And finally, execution will happen. Okay, so that's very good and high level representation of it. So I feel like this, like step one, this step two, three, step three is, in this format. Anyway, so if I have to put it, um, I'll just say meaning. That's all. If I just have to use one word, I will use meaning. If I have to use one sentence, I will say, I don't know, I didn't prepare for this, but maybe just finding a meaning out of syntax and helping the computer, giving that meaning, something like that. But just meaning bhi tumne yaad rakha for this first 30 minutes, that's fine. All right. So remember, we are going to do this for every 30 minutes. Prepare your own thing. Can be anything. And again, it's not for me, it's for you guys only. All right, now we'll get into some dirty work now. What we are going to do, we are going to find top four actually. So it was supposed to be top three. Probably it will be top three. But let's see. So first we have JavaScript. We'll try to execute it. We have Python. We have C++. And fourth one, assembly. Assembly is actually not possible. Like it will take us into a completely different planet, like on Mars or something. ये workshop बंद करना पड़ेगा if you go and start getting into assembly. But I'll give you guys some like what is it, knowledge nuggets on the assembly. And actually, instead of JavaScript, I wanted to do, I'll just do it right now. It is supposed to be Java. The reason is we execute JavaScript every single day and we exactly know how it executes. You go to the browser, it works. You go to the Node.js, it works. As simple as that. That's all. Okay. So for Java, I'll just stop again screen share for a minute. I'll quickly get a Java code. So we are just going to work on hello world code. Now, what is our goal for this thing is we just want to see like all this tool that we mentioned, compiler, interpreter, transpiler, for which language it works. Okay. So you have to take a guess on that. Is it compiled? Is it interpreted? And basically just figuring out how that meaning, sorry, not meaning on, but the execution phase works. Meaning part will come on later. So I'll get Java code real quick. Whether anyone previously has coded on Java, C++, basically any of the language that you saw, even in your college time, that's fine. Okay. That's a sad story. Okay. All right. So I have, but I have forgotten the syntax. Hopefully you guys will help me. In how to run this program. I do have the program. If you learned something in college, probably you did not learn anything. Again, if you're exception, at least that was the case with me. I hope that is the case with you guys as well. Yeah. Okay. So I have this C++ code with me, and I have this Java code with me. All right. So Java, C++, cool, then that's fine. But yeah, that's why, I kept a very simple code. Here you just have to print stuff, and here also you have to print stuff. I'll just open up my terminal, and we just want to see how this thing actually give us the response. So we are just going from syntax to the response all apart. We are not talking about the meaning and analyzing all apart in the between, as we saw in the previous slide. Okay. So then we are just playing with this thing. Anyone knows how to run a C++ file? If yes, please help me. Instead of me going to ChatGPT, some of you can go and just tell me these 2 steps. I actually know what those steps are, but I don't know the commands, like what exactly needs to be typed in here. So if you can be really generous. Give it way first for C++. जल्दी करो भाई, कल पनवेल निकलना है. G plus. Are you sure? I think that might be G plus plus, Rohan. Yeah, G plus plus. What is this G plus plus? Why it is not C plus plus? It should be C plus plus, right? The name of the language is C plus plus, and you are asking about G plus plus. And there is a reason for that. So then you have to pass the name of the file, which is hello.cpp, but my name of file is test.cpp. And then I have to pass this weird thing called as O. I'm hoping that is the output, and then test. Okay. So I'm going to do it. I do it, I should get something like this test. And if I open it up, there is nothing. Any guesses, by the way, those we have learned, कि इसके अंदर होगा क्या? It definitely does not contain this thing, this null and all that. That's how your my VS Code formatter is looking at it. But if I could actually see what is this thing, correct? That is a text format of the output. But what is the output exactly? The exact output. That, well, as I said, it's a compiled code, which means machine understand, which is assembly level. So assembly is just like the closest neighbor to the machine code. Machine code ekdam khatarnak, like 1-0. Have you guys worked on transistors? Like AND gates, OR gates, and all that. What do you pass them? Like you pass them 1-0, and based on that, they give you the output. Anyone has, I don't know, because I failed in my engineering a lot. But all I remember is one thing: you can do addition using transistor. Has anyone done that? Like you get this multiple gate, इसको ऐसा join करने का एकदम खतरनाक. You get a diagram, and that diagram basically does addition for you. And what do we pass to that diagram? I don't pass x is equal to 5, y is equal to 5, and z is equal to 10. No, I just pass to 1 and 0. That's all. That's the bit addition. Yeah, 8-bit adder, 4-bit adder, 16-bit adder. Maybe you will get the idea. So that is the level. That is 1-0. That is the machine code. And this is the machine code actually. So this test file that you're getting 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. And how do we do that? For that, we need this syntax. Now, just to quickly break it down, people, what do you think G++ is? So G++, if you don't know, is the compiler. To compile which file? Test.cpu. And what does it do? It gives you an output. That's why there's -o flag. And where does it give you that output? It gives you that output in test. So if I have to type it in the way Vikram did it previously, so this is how it will go. First to get the compiler, then compiler, you need to give it a file. So test.cpc cpp is a file. And then you need to tell what it is. So I'll just ask what. That is basically like give me the output. Compile it and give me the output. Don't just compile it. Give me the output properly. And where. That's all you're saying. This is, I like to call it a knowledge trainer. If you miss even one part of it, people, you don't know it. You will think that you know it, but you will not be able to explain it. So always remember that whenever you're trying to explain a concept, do it in a knowledge trail. So if you miss something, it will be very easy for you to debug and for other people to understand it as well. So yeah, that was it. The what part here. So G++ is the compiler. So one thing is clear, people. C++ is a which language? Compiled or interpreted or transpiled? Compiled. There you go. That's your first understanding. And again, just observation, pure observation. No one has to come and tell you. Keep your eyes open. Break down every single things and you'll get the answer. And finally, how to execute it? Narendra, I think you send me the board. Execute it. But yeah, how to execute it? Like what I need to type? Only test. So this is the file I need to execute this machine code. But what is the command? Real quick, anyone? Okay, so /test. And if I do it, there you go, people. My hello world is there. So you can clearly, if you have the note with you or anything, just please mention this part. Key, you first get the test.cpp. Then you basically compile it. And when you compile it, you get what? You get only test file. And then you finally execute it. And then you finally get the response. So I have this knowledge train with you, like you can take just a photo of it. But that is the pattern that we will use throughout our workshop. If you miss any of the trains, let me know, let us know in the community, we'll fix it for you. But it's just very easy to understand what's happening. All right, now let's go to our second language, Java. So I have the Java here, and I have this weird code, but you can understand it is just printing hello world. All right, anyone knows how to execute or how to make Java programs work? You guys will again help me down, break it, or break down it to see is it a compiled or is it interpreted or it's transparent. Okay, thank you, Vatsal. So first you have to type something like Java C. And if you just go with your like JEE logic, you will see, acha, yahan pe G++ means compiler. Then here also first thing will mean compiler. If that is the answer you have, then you are a legend and you are smart and you are correct as well. So Java C, then you have to give it a file name. File name in my case is test.java. Test.java. I don't think I have to pass any flags here, I hope. If I do it, please work. I will get something weird called as test.class. And if I open it up, I'll get like something weird thing. But at least you get something like test.java, I need code, blah, 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 whatever it is. But it is not a machine code, by the way. We'll come to that part. How to execute this? How can I actually get my hello world printed? I want my hello world printed, people, please. Yes, Java, yes. And there you go, it is printed. Now we'll quickly go back to the previous command and we are going to break it down. Java C basically means Java compiler, right? So easy names. Thank you so much. So it's a compiler and you give it a file. What does that thing do? Again, almost similar to C++. It compiles it and gives you this thing, test.class. Now remember in in C++, it gave you a machine code. Here, it does not give you a machine code. Here, it gives you something called as bytecode. So, you asked this question. So, like these are just basically different ways of saying the same thing. Biscuit, 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 bis, kid, whatever it is. It's just the same thing. It's just a different representation meant for different people to read it, meant for different computers, meant for different, hardware to execute it. So it will give a different file. And then when I just run Java test, it just execute it. So just one panel answer: is Java compiled or interpreted? Yes, correct. Vikram, Swati. Just write it on paper so that you remember, oh, I gave that answer. When he asked me the question, yes, I wrote compiled. So yeah, that will be the answer. Like use it as your rough pad. Exam में करते हैं ना, last page of the answer sheet. Just straight your chat box as that. I don't mind at all. And now we are going to go to our जो हमको रोजी रोटी कमा के देता है. Yeah, by the way, Java is actually compiled plus interpreted, but I wanted to come to that point later on. But as long as something is just creating a new file and it is asking me that new file to execute it instead of original one, to me that is the compiler. There is a part of it where it is interpreted, but we'll come to that later. And now I'll go to our OG test.js. Console.log. Hello world. No, like don't have to include any library, no bullshit here. Nothing at all. And how do you execute it? If you don't know the answer to execute it, find the smallest bowl in your home, add some water to it, and then you know what to do. Now to execute node test.js, it executed. All right. Is there any intermediary step? यहाँ पे कोई any new file is being created, like just plain it's in front of you. It is observation. मैं कोई अलग magic नहीं कर रहा हूँ, nothing. It's just the same thing. We tried it for 3 different languages. Node.js, which is basically JavaScript for a server side. That's all. It is not creating any new file, and that means JavaScript is just basically happening real time. It is interpreted. Actually, JavaScript is interpreted plus compiled. Again, we'll come to that part. But if someone asks you the question for the majority of the part, and the most important things of JavaScript is interpreted. Okay. Any kick in my old foot after creating my own language? Find it. Any Ulizo? No Ulizo? Okay. So I'll just end Elia. I'll just move on. Okay. Now we'll actually go people and talk about our stuff. We'll talk about I'll just go to like drawing board little bit and thoda like वहाँ पे रंगोली निकालनी पड़ेगी अभी, just to get more clear about it. By the way, we did not do it for Python. That's weird. By the way, anyone knows any guess what about Python? Python will create Python right now. Why not? Python will be okay like format. So test.py. How do you write in Python? I think it's very simple, like this, right? Print hello world. And how do you execute it? Python. I think I have to type Python. Anyone how to execute Python? Yep, thanks. So Python test.py. Again, just observe it based on the observation. Tell me, what is this? Missing parenthesis. Python requires parenthesis. Yep.
Well, maybe you can execute Python 3 or something.
Yeah, I thought yes for the same thing. Okay, so if you just go with this like Python 2 versions, I guess you can get hello world like this. But if you go to Python 3, you don't have to pass that things. Anyways, the point here is there any intermediate step happening? Clearly, no. I don't see any any other file that is being created because of Python and Node.js. So again, is Python interpreted or compiled? Actually, go to that part, or maybe I'm asking you a question from step 1 to step 3. That step 2 is missing. That step 2 will come right away. But my whole point is, if it is not creating a separate file, then I need to go back and I need to run it, just like यहाँ पे test करना पड़ा, यहाँ पे I had to do test.class, that basically means it is just interpreted. So it's like that GE wala logic, but I will come to that part now. Um, assembly will do just after this. So remind me, if I don't, because this is very interesting language, by the way. But I'll just go to some drawing boards and we'll do it real quick. And that